People assume betrayal is obvious when you look back. They think the signs were everywhere, that I must have ignored them. But the truth is simpler and harder to admit. When you're in love, trust feels natural. Questioning it feels wrong. For 8 years, I believed my marriage was solid. My wife, Molly, was kind, intelligent, and comforting in a way that made everyday life feel steady. What made her different was her family situation. She had 2 identical sisters, Amy and Hannah. Triplets. Same face. Same voice. Same expressions. From the start, their bond was intense. They lived close to each other, talked daily, and met almost every night. At first, I thought it was beautiful. 3 sisters who never drifted apart. I told myself I was lucky to marry into such a close family. Our lives slowly intertwined. Same neighborhood. Shared holidays. Group vacations. Even casual evenings felt like a routine the sisters had designed long before I entered their world. Sometimes, I joked that I was the outsider. Everyone laughed, including me. And yet, small things felt off. Conversations in bed became shorter over the years. Important talks were postponed. Decisions were made collectively, not privately. Still, I dismissed every doubt. Love doesn't keep score, right? Then we decided to start a family. What should have been a joyful chapter quietly became tense. Worry replaced excitement. Late-night discussions happened without me. I sensed pressure, but never imagined manipulation. The night everything changed wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No confrontation. Just a moment I wasn't meant to witness. A conversation. Laughter. And words that made my stomach drop. In that instant, I realized something terrifying. The life I trusted wasn't collapsing, it had been carefully staged all along. Backhand index pointing right if you're enjoying the story so far, like the video if you've made it this far. Because from here on, nothing stays hidden, asterisk asterisk. I should have walked straight into the kitchen. That was my original plan. I had good news to share, news that would have eased the growing tension about starting a family. But as I reached the doorway, I stopped. Laughter. Not casual laughter. The kind that comes from inside jokes, secrets, shared confidence. The voices were unmistakable. 3 women. 1 conversation. And I wasn't supposed to be listening. At first, I smiled. It felt harmless. The sisters had always laughed like that together. But then the words started to connect in ways that made no sense. Names were mentioned. Husbands. Comparisons. Plans. I felt frozen in place. What I heard didn't sound like innocent teasing. It sounded organized. Familiar. Rehearsed like something discussed more than once. And suddenly, memories I had brushed off for years came rushing back with clarity I didn't want. Why nights felt different. Why conversations were avoided. Why nothing ever felt questioned. My chest tightened as the truth began forming in my mind, slowly, painfully. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself I was misunderstanding. That I was tired. That stress was twisting harmless words into something ugly. But deep down, I knew better. I stepped back quietly, my heart pounding. If I confronted them now, I'd get denial. Tears. Confusion. And lies, perfectly delivered lies. So I decided to do something else. I stayed silent. I started watching. Listening. Remembering. Small details suddenly mattered. Habits. Phrases. Timing. Things only someone paying close attention would notice. Because if my life was being manipulated, I needed proof, not guesses. And if betrayal had been happening right under my roof, then the people I trusted most had already underestimated me once. They wouldn't do it again. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because part 3 is where the quiet investigation begins, and the truth starts to crack. I didn't confront anyone. Not that night. Not the next morning either. Suspicion hurts, but proof? Proof destroys. I began paying attention to details I'd ignored for years. The way my wife would sometimes pause before answering a simple question. How certain memories felt incomplete. How late-night conversations had quietly disappeared from our marriage without explanation. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then I told myself paranoia doesn't usually feel this logical. So I tested reality. Nothing dramatic. No accusations. Just observation. I watched patterns repeat, phrases reused, habits appearing one night and vanishing the next. It felt like my life was running on a rotation I'd never agreed to. One evening, I did something small but deliberate. Something no one would notice unless they weren't who I thought they were. The next night, the reaction confirmed everything. A hesitation. A moment of confusion. Fear, quickly hidden. My heart sank. Not because I was wrong, but because I was right. What terrified me most wasn't just the betrayal. It was how long it must have been happening. How easily it blended into normal life. How effortlessly trust had been used against me. Every shared holiday suddenly felt fake. Every I love you felt rehearsed. Every memory demanded re-evaluation. I realized then that the worst lies aren't told loudly. They're whispered repeatedly until they feel normal. And the people who lie the longest are often the ones closest to you. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying years of my life with new understanding. I wasn't just betrayed, I was outnumbered. But one thing became very clear. They thought I was still unaware. Still trusting. Still controllable. And that was their biggest mistake. Because now, I wasn't searching for answers anymore. I was preparing for confrontation. And when it came, someone was going to lose everything. The confrontation didn't happen the way movies show it. There was no screaming. No dramatic exit. Just silence heavy enough to crush everything I once believed. When I finally spoke, the room changed. Faces went pale. Words stumbled. The truth didn't explode, it unraveled. Slowly. Reluctantly. Piece by piece. What hurt most wasn't just what they admitted. It was how calmly they spoke, as if explaining something unavoidable. As if loyalty were flexible. As if love could be rearranged without consequence. Years of trust collapsed in minutes. I realized then that betrayal doesn't always come from hate. Sometimes it comes from comfort. From people choosing what feels easiest for them while convincing themselves no one else will notice. I walked away that night knowing one thing for certain: a life built on deception is never truly shared. No matter how perfect it looks from the outside. The days that followed were quiet. Painful. But clear. For the first time in years, my thoughts were my own. No confusion. No second guessing. Just truth. And truth, even when it hurts, is freedom. I didn't leave angry. I left awake. Because once trust is broken at that level, it doesn't heal, it teaches. If this story proves anything, it's this. The deepest betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who stand closest to you, smiling. And if you ever feel something is off in your life, listen to that feeling. It's there to protect you. Subscribe our channel to get more videos about betrayals.